Hey, and thanks for joining me with another episode of Straight Jacket White Rabbit. I'm your host, Adam. Today, I'm going to be doing a show on why I believe and what I believe about UFOs. What I've heard, what I've read, kind of the reason why I believe the things I believe. I've had a few people ask me now, quite a few, through emails and comments, saying that they want to know more about why I believe things about the UFOs that I do. So I'm just going to kind of start and see where it takes us. So I've been interested in any kind of supernatural, paranormal, anything like that since I was a kid. UFOs just happened to fall into that group. So I became a very avid reader of stories and online fictions and actual stories and pretty much anything to do with it. As far as my real peak interest, it was probably when I was about 13 or so. Started looking into Roswell, getting into the crash in Italy before that, all the crashes out in Germany and Kecksburg and the Rendlesham Forest incident and all these other interesting accounts that are backed up by numerous eyewitnesses, be it military, civilian, reporters, just different people of different walks of life, all saying the same thing, that these things have been around, they have crashed. Whether we've shot them down or they're crashing on their own or whatever, we don't know. Well, I don't know. But they've been around, they've been crashing. We have pictures of things in artwork from the 1600s and earlier in famous Renaissance paintings of UFOs and just odd things in the sky that look obviously proportioned devices that people painted into these pictures, and people try to dismiss them with really bizarre explanations. Oh, that's supposed to be an angel. Angels don't sit in vehicles that... No, that's just... like... There's no reasonable explanation for some of the things that we have in our past depicting these UFOs, let alone some of the alien beings that we've depicted. This stuff goes back, literally, as far as I can tell, throughout human history. And, I'm not going to get into the big arguments of whether or not they built the pyramids or whether or not that's not the point. The point is there has been something in our sky long before we were able to be the ones in our sky, and it's an intelligently controlled craft. Be it a drone, be it a piloted vehicle, be it both. It just seems weird that nobody really pays much attention to it. And our daily lives, you guys, think about it. How often do you really look up at the sky for very long? Yeah, some people look up at the sky at a glance, but most people don't go around staring at the sky. You've probably missed UFOs or UAPs near you just by not looking. There's stories that don't make sense in history, which is another pull that pulled me in towards the direction of UFOs, which was like the Aboriginal tribe in Australia, I believe it is, who knew about a star that you can't see with the naked eye. They've known about it throughout their history, through their oral history, through their teachings and their stories. They've known about this star before scientists discovered it. You cannot see this star with a naked eye. It's next to, I can't remember if it's Sirius A, Sirius B, which one it is, but you can't see one of them with the naked eye because you can only see the brighter one. And they knew about this star because this star is near where the people, the aliens, came down and contacted this tribe were from. And things like that make me think, how did these people know what this star looked like before you could see this star? Not before you could see it, but with modern uses of telescopes and things like that. Now, there's lots of stories throughout our history also of things coming down from the sky. I've said this in other videos. I mean, throughout religion and historical texts, like things that have nothing to do with fanciful things. Historical texts talk about this all over the world. The Wild West, Canada, Mexico, South America, China. That's all over the world, you guys. And nobody takes it seriously. Nobody talks about it. And I've always found it really odd that nobody even nobody really seemed to be giving it the attention it deserved. And the more I dug into it, the more I was like, why is nobody talking about this? Like, this is a big deal, you know? I mean, think about this, guys. The Wright brothers was not that long ago, time-wise speaking, okay? We have not been airborne, piloting the skies for that long. There's no reason or rhyme or reason for all these accounts of things. And no, they're not painting an asteroid with a person sitting in it in these paintings, okay? Like I said, some of the dumbest excuses I've ever heard, and I've heard these excuses used by so-called professionals to debunk these works of art with odd things in them. Like I said, you have stories like the attack that happened in Colares, where they were supposedly taking people's, like, samples of people's skin and blood through, it was supposedly through these light beams that were really intense, almost laser-like, that would shoot down at you. And they said within the light there was some kind of a solid, I don't know exactly how they phrased it, but there was some kind of a solid filament in this light beam that would strike people and take a sample of their blood or skin or whatever they were getting samples of. And a lot of people listen or talk about the Colares event like they were shooting lasers and blowing up buildings. That's not what this event was about. The event in Colares, Brazil was almost like a tagging and research expedition that we go on as people for rare animals or groups of animals that we want to study. You know, you round them up real quick, you tag them all, or as many of them as you can, and then you release them back real quick. That really, when I learned about that, got my attention going hard. And then there's so much that got me into this topic, you guys. I mean, the technology base alone of what this would mean if we had this type of technology or access to this type of technology and we understood it. I mean, we're talking, forget the Jetsons, you guys. We're talking future of all futures for us. We're talking free energy. We're talking about instantaneous travel from point to point. We're talking about, I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. And I love science, you guys. I love discoveries and technological breakthroughs and things like that. I do think it should be kept to a controlled degree. I do not like AI. But the reason like I said, the reason I believe isn't just a reason, so it's hard to put into words. So if I do ramble in this video, I apologize. But I'm kind of trying to piece together for you all these things and the way I see them and the way that it really did send me deeper down the rabbit hole, you guys. You know, pun intended. You know, with the Roswell story, you know, the fact that most people weren't talking about the second crash site amazed me. It was like, oh my God, an alien crash site. But then everyone was like, oh, well, the second crash site, you know, there wasn't as many witnesses and blah, blah, blah. You guys, like, there was a second disc that crashed that was supposedly in better shape and had bodies. They never recovered the craft that had parts and pieces, as far as I've ever heard of any kind of witness. They never recovered a large craft at the first crash site. How do you know the debris wasn't from where the ship had an explosion in the air and the debris fell down, and then the actual ship was at the second crash site with the pilots? That would explain why they found bodies supposedly there, and an actual disc-shaped object that they found there as well. I'm not saying, like I said, I know these things are fact, but these are all parts of different pieces. You have to understand, I got this information as it was coming out. Some of these people came out at the beginning and then retracted their story and then came out again later. Some people just never came out until way later. So I processed new information as it came in, just like I did when Bob Lazar did his first interview back in the late 80s, early 90s. It's very hard to put a specific instance on why I do what I do and why I'm so fascinated by it unless you get the full picture of this. After Bob Lazar came out with his whole thing, I did every bit of research you could possibly do on a secret site. I mean, I looked up web pages and chats and tried to find stories about people who worked there, people who had been there, people who worked for the Janet Airlines that flies the people in there supposedly, the different charter bus companies that were supposedly taking people in and out of the base. What was S4? If there was an S4, was there an S1, 2, and 3? Where would they be located on the property that belongs to the U.S. Air Force? Because that is a huge property, even for the number of buildings that are on it, guys. Those of you who've never seen a picture of Area 51, it's relatively small, you guys, but it's the area that they own is flippin' enormous. And I don't care what anyone says, it's not just that big of an area because they wanted to make sure people were backed up a certain amount so they couldn't see what was going on. That's bull, okay? If you wanted that, you don't put it, right on the freaking route, right? It's literally a few miles from Vegas, you guys. It just doesn't make sense. It's that big because it's really that big, you guys. And you have to understand, there have been numerous sources who have come out over the years saying that what you see up top isn't 1/50th of that base. That base is underground, multiple levels. That base extends all the way to the mountain lines, and according to some insiders, it actually extends into those mountains. This base is supposedly ridiculously big, guys, and we have the technology to do this. We've had the technology to do good tunnel systems forever. Okay, we just have. Then you couple it, like I say, with people who did an outstanding job of bringing information forward. And I'm not just talking about my normal, Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp and all of them, and, David Grush and all the whistleblowers that have been recent. Bob Lazar too, I always give credit to Bob Lazar, but I'm talking about like the military police that came forward from the Rendlesham Forest incident. I'm talking about the commander from Rendlesham Forest who came forward with his taped. He's literally got a tape of him talking while he's looking at one of these things. And they, like I said, they always debunk it with stupid stuff, which drew me in even more. The Rendlesham Forest incident, they're like, oh, it was the lighthouse that was there. These people were stationed here for years. You don't think they know the difference of a freaking lighthouse beam that goes around very systematically? You only see it during that one period. It's never off time. You don't think they would know the difference between that and telling you they saw a full-fledged craft and one of the men saying they touched it? They didn't see, I'm sorry, but like some of the explanations we've given people and the public has bought over the years, I'm seriously starting to wonder if the general population has any hope of not being permanently brainwashed, you guys. I think they might be stuck in the Matrix for the rest of their lives. I'm not sure how this is going to work. But anyways, so I moved on through this whole, exploratory phase where I was just getting data from here and here and here. And then I started noticing there's different craft shapes and sizes, and not just one or two, you guys. There's not like just, the triangle, the tic-tac, and the jellyfish and the disc, okay? These things have been seen in so many shapes and sizes, from like jello mold looking things to long cigar shapes to the little tic-tacs to giant triangles to giant elongated square craft to square cubes inside of a circle orb is the best way to bubble. just plain spheres, circles, balls of light. These things have been seen in so many forms. And these are, like I said, these are not, well, there's one sighting of this shape and there's one sighting. These are dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens just over the last 20 years, guys. Let alone throughout human history. People have been reporting this forever and nobody looks into it. Why? Because the information we consume as a society, I learned a long time ago. Everyone now shouts out fake media, but I find it hysterical because I've been yelling that since I was a child. The world we're fed is not the real world, guys. You know what teachers wanted you to know unless you went exploring and finding facts for yourself. You know nothing if you didn't explore facts for yourself. You can't just take things based off of one angle that somebody spoon feeds you in a classroom and expect to be well versed in a topic. You have to look at it from different sides, different angles, good guy, bad guys, this side, that side. Every perspective you can get so that you can form your own picture of what happened in its entirety. And this is what I did. Now, by doing this, I have discovered through my beliefs that there are multiple species visiting this planet. Okay, which is why I don't necessarily, now I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying we didn't do this. I just want to be clear. I'm not a huge proponent of the UFOs are just us from the future. I'm not saying we couldn't come back from the future or visit ourselves or any of that other stuff, but here's why I don't believe this, okay? Because of the fact that might be one case, but it doesn't explain all of the different versions of species that people have claimed to see. Yes, a large majority of them are the grays. You have people who claim to have seen reptilians. You have people who have claimed to have seen Nordics. You have people who have claimed to see giant mantis-looking, like insect mantis-looking aliens. You guys, there's literally, I encourage you to do some research on this. There are lists out there with, some of the drawings are kind of iffy depending on which ones you look at, but there are reliable lists out there that talk about all the different species people have reported seeing. Now, whether or not these people are all telling the truth, you know what, dude, I'm not going to get into a moral debate about, why Farmer Fred might be trying to, have people come to his farm to see a crop circle that he made. I'm not saying there's not fakes out there, guys. We live in the time of video editing. There are literally fakes everywhere. Okay, which is why vetting your information is so important, which is why all these military footage that's come out so recently are so important. Everyone's like, oh, it's another UFO video. Dude, this is military planes that were these were jets chasing these things. These are military pilots that we trust with $1 million aircraft who are observing these things with their own flipping eyes. It's not a camera flare. It's not a radar mess up and a phantom ping on the radar. This is a physical, tangible object that people are seeing in our government in very high responsibility, driven jobs. And it's taken so long for anyone to even go, oh, okay, well, we'll listen to you. That's why I get so excited about all these congressional hearings. Now, whether or not Congress is going to do the right thing, you guys, that's a whole nother matter. But that's why I'm excited about this topic, because I feel like just in my lifetime, we went from, if you talk about UFOs, you're absolutely bonkers, to, oh my God, you guys were right. There's something here. Even our own government admits it. Here's some other thing I've pieced together, and these are all obvious little things I'm giving. I'm not going to go into detail on all of them. Otherwise I'd be here all day. And I got to pick up my son soon from school. But another piece is, you guys, there have been, it's not just the military people that have come forward, but there have been so many examples of cover-up by our country, by other countries, to shut down questions, shut down the media. You were called insane if you mentioned this. You were literally deemed crazy. Pilots would lose their jobs and their livelihood for reporting this. Same thing with military personnel. They would give you a psych eval and deem you unfit to fly. This was made a stigma that you could not talk about or you were retaliated against. Sometimes lethally. We don't know by who, supposedly. But, I mean, people died over this, you guys. This is not a subject that's, tread wherever you want, ask as many questions as you want of whoever you want. Some of these people have died for asking the wrong people the wrong questions or releasing information that they weren't supposed to have, or not backing off when asked to by mysterious forces. But yeah, these are the reasons why I believe, guys. I've done the research, okay? There's literally, there are times throughout our history where people have reported seeing the exact same craft that we see today. So when the government is sitting there saying, well, this might be foreign adversary technology, or it could be our own secret technology that we can't disclose to you. You haven't been developing aircraft since before this country was founded, Jack. Beep. You know what I mean? You guys, you understand how mental their excuses sound? Well, this could be an enemy craft. People have been seeing these same craft for hundreds of years. I hate to burst your bubble, but if any other country had this craft for hundreds of years with human behavior, we'd all belong to that country. It would be game over. There is no fight. What would you do against a craft that can maneuver like that? Nothing. You could do absolutely nothing. These guys can move at speeds that are ridiculous without creating a sonic boom. We don't even know how that's possible. Scientists, Neil deGrasse Tyson and all these other people come out and they talk about the subject like they know it for fact. You're a TV scientist at best, and honestly, I believe that you're a kind of a misinformation stooge, be it a hired one or by your own choice. When you say things like these people, oh, well, see, according to physics, you can't do this because, do you have any idea how arrogant that sounds, that we know everything about all these other inventions that could have been made by a species that could predate us by 1 million years? That is, what a set of cojones to sit there and say, well, we haven't figured out a way to do that. And according to our science, our science literally doesn't know jack. And we admit that all the time. We don't know the answer for this. We don't know the answer for that. But you expect us to believe that because our science doesn't explain something about a civilization that could dwarf us in age, that it must not be possible? That's absurd. These types of people are the reason why I got so involved also, because when you look at the subject as vast as it is, you can't deny that there are things being seen. You can't deny they're here throughout history. For all we know, they're not coming from vast distances. There's been a lot of talk about underwater bases, inner Earth bases. There's been a lot of talk about all of this stuff, you guys. So, this, like I said, it was more or less, it was all of these things that got me interested. The deception, the open, blatant deception by our government. The repeated times they've been caught, alone. They've been caught how many times now investigating UFOs and then going, oh, they're not of interest to us. Seems like they're of interest to you. Seems like you don't want them to be of interest to us. I do believe that we've had contact on some level, be it military or presidential or whatever. I do believe we've had contact with actual alien species. Be it whether you're one of the people that believe in the Eisenhower meeting, be it if you believe in one of the people who believe that we had the the what is it? EBE, extraterrestrial biological entity, who people were interrogating and getting information from. There's a lot of different stories. Whichever one you believe, or if you don't believe any of them, that's up to you. But these are the things that drew me in, and I kind of just wanted to share that with you guys to let you know how I evolved and why I evolved to thinking about things the way I have. I mean, the sheer number, you guys, of military personnel that have come out and said, yeah, this is real. I couldn't talk about it at the time, but, you know, now that I'm 65, 85, 95, I'm going to talk about it because I don't have long left to live here, and I think people should know. You know, these can't be discounted. There's too many of them. It's too much evidence that something weird is going on. And this ties into my beliefs in the supernatural as well, you guys. Our government doesn't want you paying attention to anything that's not the status quo. They don't want you to see the real world around you. And the real world around you has magic. It has unexplained creatures and phenomenon and ghosts and aliens and UFOs, time travel, different dimensions. These are not just hypotheticals, you guys. These are the world you live in. And mainstream society has built a cage around us that is so convincing, so comforting, and so warm and cozy that most people want to stay in this cage. I'm fine with that. That's your choice. I woke up many years ago, and the deeper you dive on any of these topics, you guys, the more you find. It's literally the opposite of how it should go. You should be like, well, once I've explored it for years, I should find less. There have been people who've been studying the UFO, UAP phenomenon their entire lives, and it just keeps going. The rabbit hole keeps going. The sightings keep going. The history keeps going. And I love that. It's like I said, everyone who watches my channel knows I love the spiritual stuff. This is the ghosts and demonology and all of that stuff. And this is the same type of thing to me. They're interconnected, you guys. It's the unexplained. It's wanting answers and believing that the rest of the world has a reason why they're not telling us stuff about this. They don't want certain topics talked about seriously. That's why you have certain things being made fun of in Hollywood. That's why certain social groups faux pas different topics. But sorry about the sloppy editing, guys. I had to leave a couple times. My dog went off once. I fixed it up as best as I could. But just to let you guys know, I'm going to be doing another video hopefully here this weekend at some point once I get some free time. I hope you enjoyed the video, you guys. Anything you guys give me comment-wise, I'll try to get it back to, as I always do. And I just wish you guys have the best of luck, and I wish you guys have a good day.